Hello friends, welcome to One Stop All Poetry Solution. We are meeting indeed after a long time. Today I am going to discuss with you How Beautiful is the Rain by H.W. Longfellow. But before I head straight into the poem, I would like to give you some authorial background. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, a poem which has already been recorded in this channel, Slave's Dream, is also written by him. H.W. Longfellow was an American poet and educator whose works include Paul Revere Ride, The Song of Hiawatha, and Evangeline. He was the first American to translate Dante Alighieri's Divine Comedy and was one of the fireside poets from New England. In this poem, How Beautiful is the Rain, after the dust and heat, in the broad and fiery street, in the narrow lane, how beautiful is the rain, you will first find the recurrence of the lines How beautiful is the rain, which is a perfect example of refrain. How beautiful is the rain the moment we read the first line, the last line, and the entire poem. In fact, without reading the summary, we can clearly visualize what amount of peace does rain brings to our minds, our hearts, and fills our heart with calmness, our brain with calmness. You can actually feel it in your entire body. The calmness spreads through the body, and in fact, the rain comparison, the metaphor, is used for in a number of instances. One of them is for meditation, because it is believed and proven to have a calming effect. So let us read the poem once again, though I read the first stanza just now to bring about the effect straight away. So, how beautiful is the rain after the dust and heat, in the broad and fiery heat. In the narrow lane, how beautiful is the rain. How it clatters along the roofs like the tramp of hoofs. How it gushes and struggles out from the throat of the overflowing spout. Across the window pane it pours and swift and wide like a muddy tide, like a river down the gutter roars the rain, the welcome rain. So the rain is beautiful after the dust and the heat. All along the summer days, the streets are burning, it is fiery hot, the narrow lanes, everywhere there is warmth, heat waves, and there is no respite. So once the rain comes, it is beautiful. And how does it come? It comes clattering along the roofs, the noise. So it is an example of onomatopoeia, sound. The tramp of hoofs, again onomatopoeia, the sound of the horse's hoofs. How it gushes and struggles out from the throat of the overflowing spout. From the throat, as if the clouds are ready to burst out the rain, and that is the rain pouring out from the clouds. And another is when it falls from the rooftops, you will see that as if it is flowing out, the rainwater is flowing out in huge number. So the rainwater pouring out from the window panes, it pours and pours, there is incessant rain, it is swift and wide because of the action of the wind, it is flowing this way and that way because of the action of the wind. So it is spread far and wide, to the far land, to the distant lands, to the near lands, to the near people, everywhere. With a muddy tide, like a river down the gutter roars, and when it flows down the drains, the gutters, it seems as if a wide body of river is flowing down, and the rain is a welcome rain. Now the roads are not clean because it is dusty, and soil and water, when they mix together, it becomes muddy. So when it is flowing, there are narrow streams that are created, which you will find recurring in the next few lines of the poem. And as it flows, it has been compared to the tide, the narrow recurring tide. So just like the river water or the ocean water, there is tide, there are slight movements in the water, there are some certain path that the water takes when it is flowing, just as the river has a definite course before it meets its destination. Similarly, the street rivers, these puddles that are being formed, the narrow streams, the narrow rainwater, the streams that are being caused, are also muddy, and they also follow a definite course. The sick man from the chamber looks at the twisted brooks. He can feel the cool. Beneath of each little pool, his fevered brain grows calm again, and he breathes a blessing in the rain. So whether it's the sick man or the blessed man or the happy man, everyone gets respite. And the twisted brooks, because the streams that are flowing along the streets are not very straight. It does not flow in a straightforward way. It is twisted. The streams are compared to the brooks. and he can feel. Why? Because rain, the water, when it passes through the, when wind passes through the water, you will get that kind of calmness, that coolingness, that air conditioning effect is there. And it is much better than the air conditioners that we use most of the cases in our houses. It's natural, and that kind of calmness probably even ACs cannot give. That is the unfortunate part. But yes, that is a fact, that when the wind passes through water, there is a calming, cooling effect. And when he is enjoying, because as it is, he is deep in fever, he is sick, so his it's everything is hot, warm all about his body. So when that calmness enters through the coolness of the breeze and the rain, everything, he gets a lot of respite. There is peace, and he's relieved of the pain. Because you will see that most of the time, this, you need to calm down in fever. Water, application of water, that needs to be given so that your temperature does not rise. From the neighboring school come the boys with more than their wonted noise and commotion, and down the wet streets sail their mimic fleet, till the treacherous pool engulfs them in its whirling and turbulent ocean. So everything is happening about very fast, because it is the rain, when it is covering, it's not restricted to one place, it is moving. And it is just like now I am telling you, it's raining in my area. Whether it is raining to in your area, come and tell me, or telephone or call me and tell me. That's not happening. If it's raining, means it's raining in a particular area, if you can understand what I mean. And here the pace of the poem is quite fast, the tone is very jovial of the poem. And he's telling, the poet H.W. Longfellow is telling that the school boys, the neighboring school boys, there's a lot of commotion, there's a lot of excitement. Why? Because it is raining, puddles have formed, the streets are wet, they can splash there about in the water, they can create mimic fleets, that means paper boats. We really miss those days when we could easily float paper boats into the streams or the puddles without fearing of getting sick, and obviously without the fear of this deadly coronavirus. So engulfs them in its whirling and turbulent ocean. So the puddles are not it's not that it's stagnant. The waters are pouring. There are whirlpools that are being formed because of the ripple effect. I hope you can understand. And what happens when it keeps on raining? How long can the paper boats sustain? After all, they are mimic fleets. They are not original boats. And then that puddle finally engulfs them, swallows them up. The paper boat drowns, and the turbulent ocean. Why is that turbulent ocean? Because there is wind, which you will come across soon. And then there is the rain, which together with the impact, there is the movement of the paper boats, and then the water, that small amount of water body. That puddle has been compared to the ocean. And obviously you can understand, ship or fleets generally float, need a larger water body. They don't float on rivers until and unless it is of a huge scale. Oceans are generally required. So the neighboring school boys, they are coming, their wonted noise, they're much excited, there is much excitement all about. And excuse me, and there is this treacherous pool. The treacherous pool is referred to as the puddle. So they are enjoying through and through. So you can understand how every section of the society is basically enjoying, from the streets who are getting respite, to the sick man, to the boys who are creating a commotion. In the country, on every side, where far and wide, like a leopard's tawny and spotted hide, stretches the plain to the dry grass and drier green. How welcome is the rain. These few lines you will come across soon. So in the country, on every side, a country like India, if you focus on India, or if you focus on H.W. Longfellow's country, because he is an American poet, whichever land, most of the countries are dependent on rain. It has to. This is very natural. Come on, crops cannot grow without water. So let's, for the time being, focus on India only. And a country which is so much rain dependent, you can very well understand that some areas will be drought prone, and without proper or sufficient water, it's going to turn brown. Now, interestingly, like a leopard's tawny and spotted hide, you will see tawny basically means yellowish. And here I have actually found two explanations. If you can justify both of them, there is no problem. But more than this leopard's hideout explanation, I would like to go with the due to the lack of rain, it has turned yellow. This explanation, because that is more logical. When the rain is coming, before it is dusty, dry, completely, they were struck by the heat waves, so everything has dried up, everything has lost its color, its luster, that greenery is no more there. So the rain is going to restore that greenery. So leopard's tawny, or the yellowish skin with those spots, those brown spots, refers to the vegetation that has dried up. In the furrowed land, the toilsome, patient and oxen stand, lifting the yoke unencumbered head. With the dilated nostrils spread, they silently inhale the clover-scented gale. So what is happening here? That the oxen, they are being used. That is, it is not mechanized form of farming. It's not mechanized form of creating the furrows in the land. Furrows are those marks that are created, which turns the soil so as to bring up the nutrients to the topmost part with the activity. And the toilsome, the oxen are toilsome and they are patient. They are working hard. They are patient. If they are not working hard, if they are not patient, it's difficult for the person to actually control the oxen. The yoke is the kind of thing that they place on their necks, so that the bullock carts, you must have, not bullock carts exactly, during plowing they require that kind of yoke. It's vertically placed and one line is horizontally placed, and it's that horizontal line that is placed on the necks of the oxen, and it encumbers their movement, it hinders their movement. And because of the load, as it is, they are working hard, on top of that there is that load, so their nostrils have dilated and they are silently inhaling what? The smell of clove. Because there is a gale also, it brings about that rain. I don't know what is, I think it's in Hindi it's called Andhi, and in Bengali it's called Kal Boishakhi. You will see that there is a sudden gust of wind that brings a lot of a mixture of smell, and that mixture of smell, the smell of clove, or whether it's the smell of the wet soil, petrichor, that's called the wet soil, the smell, and whoever it is, that they enjoy it. Whatever it is, they enjoy it. The oxen enjoy it, because after all, the soil is ready to be plowed. It's very difficult to plow a dry, barren soil until and unless the soil is wet. There is some water. You can try it out yourself in a small piece of land also. In a soil which is dry, try digging, you will have difficulty. Pour water, your hand is going to pierce through easily. That's the thing. And the vapors that arise, so they are silently inhaling the clove smell and the vapors that arise from the well-watered and smoking soil. For this rest in the furrow after toil, their large and lustrous eyes seem to thank the Lord more than man's spoken word. So their words, their way of expression is something more that even human beings cannot voice. The way human beings voice their thanking or they thank the Lord, that is even more. And for the cooling water, for this, the rest, the furrow after toil, they are working hard for it. And their large and lustrous eyes, because they have worked so hard that they are tired, their eyes are glistening, and because of making the soil ready for cultivation, for growth, they are thanking the Lord. Never at hand, from under the sheltering trees, the farmer sees his pastures and the fields of grain as they bend their tops to the numberless beating drops of the incessant rain. He counts on it as he sits that there is no sin that he sees therein, only his own thrift and gain. The farmers are thankful, the farmers are glad for the rain, because it enables them to think about their profit, their gain, how much land, how much crops they can grow. They are satisfied to see the rain replenishing the crops. Overall, they are very happy, and there is no harm in thinking about it. There is no harm in counting the incessant rain. There is no harm in watching, enjoying the endless beating of the raindrops. There is no harm in it, because he's not only counting his blessings, but he's also counting the amount of profit, the amount of gain that he's going to make after the crops grow in a healthy way. But the poet sees way beyond that. The poet does not see the apparent benefit. The poet is witnessing all these things in the wider periphery, all at a glance. Unlike the farmer, unlike the sick man, unlike the boys who are selling their fleets, unlike the oxen who are praying, everyone. And that brings us to the end of the poem, where we sit, enjoy, and continue with the feeling of the effect of the rain as it stays with us for now and forever. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you will enjoy reading and